Welcome back to Gaming Pulpit, the newest episode of the Gaming Pulpit for April. I don't think I've done a Gaming Pulpit for April, not that I can recall. But it wasn't that much crazy news. I decided to hold off, and there was some other things that I wanted to do, little side projects and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of integrate it with the Gaming Pulpit and everything like that. By the way, I finally released an instrumental album on iTunes. So go ahead and check that out in the description. I'm kind of glad I held off on all of the news because there wasn't really anything, and then I think today is going to be pretty potent. Sony released an update that allow you to change your IDs, your PSN IDs, your PSN name. Hooray. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't an immature little bastard, but I made mine about 13 years ago. I used to always use this moniker on a PSP when you didn't have like a cohesive experience. You had to keep making your names, but I usually call myself Duel. When the PSN came out, I decided to, elaborate on that, and that was pretty much it. I didn't want to do anything stupid. I think I was always like that, where I didn't want to have something that was tied to a time frame, or not time frame, but an era of time. And I didn't want to do it. I wanted something original, and I thought about it, and I was fairly young when I did it. But apparently there's a lot of people that fucking call themselves Stupid Dick Licker 87 or whatever the fuck it was. And now they want to fucking, change it. This has been a hot request from the fans of Sony's world and the PlayStation and the community. And now you finally get to do it. It's not without its risk though. So I'll read the risk before I even go on, and I'll tell you what else is going on. So, looking here, let me go into my notes. They said your previous online ID may remain visible to you and other players in some areas. You may lose progress within games, and including save games, leaderboard data, progress towards trophies. Parts of your game and applications may not function properly, both online and offline. And you may lose access to content, including paid for content, that you may have acquired for your games, including contents like add-on or virtual currency. I don't know too much about this. I feel like because you can change your name back to the original one. I think that's the fail-safe. I don't think they will have that many crazy-ass risks before you do that. But there's a lot of Q&As, so I want to go over that. That's the risk. I really want to look into it, and when I do find out the answer, I'll make another video with a little small snippet of the answer. But they say, someone asked if all games, actually support the online ID change. And they say largely most of them. There are some, I'm presuming, way like, I don't know, PS3 games, PS3 launch games that really wouldn't be compatible. I think that's what they're kind of referring to. And then someone asks, what do you mean by a game support the online ID if it's originally published on or after April 1st? And then Sony states, the game must have launched for the first time on or after April 1st of 2018 to support the online ID change. For example, a game must first launch a game that launched back in 2013 has been remastered or resold as a complete edition, and 2018 does not apply. So certain ones, it looks like certain ones really wouldn't support it completely unless it's after April 1st of 2018. They say, well, all games released in the future support this feature. They say all games originally published on or after April 1st have developed the support for online ID change in the future. But we will not guarantee that all games will fully support the feature. Someone said, I saw there is a lot of potential issues associated with changing the name. And how do I know I won't run into these issues? Sony says, we recommend that you check the list of tested games before you make the actual change. A large majority of most played PS4 games that we tested support the feature. We expect more issues to occur only in a small number of games. So I guess that's why it took so long. They wanted to actually double check to see if it actually works, because you know how people will sue. So somebody says, do I have to pay to revert back to my old name? They said no. So reverting back is free. Consequently, you have to pay $9.99 US dollars. And if you have PlayStation Plus, it'll cost $5 to change your name. And the first one is free. So let me see where I'm at now. Okay, here. What happens to my old online ID? Can someone else take it? And they say no. So no one else can take it because that's permanently yours. And then someone asks again, do all games support online ID change? And they say again, majority does. They said PS3 games and PS Vita games are not supported. So these are strictly PS4 games, which is understandable. When they first created the PSN, it wasn't designed the way that they designed it. Your name is the actual master ID is basically what happens. So you can't change that. What they ended up doing with the PS4 for April 1st, 2018 is that they still use your main name as the ID, as the main key or the main, ID. But they have a secondary system where it will allow you to put something on top of it. And that's why you may get some issues changing it. So let me see here. What else do they have? They say, will my friends be able to find me with a new ID? They say, when changing your online ID, you have the option to display your old name next to your new name for 30 days. So only for 30 days you can do that, just so people can get used to you. I'm not changing mine because mine is pretty sound. How many times can I change it? So they say in general there's no restrictions. They can keep throwing money at Sony to change it. And I think that's it. That pretty much covers all of the, the name changes and everything like that. That was a pretty big thing. That was one of the most requested. Me personally, I don't give a fuck about the name changes. You should have been immature and created stupid names. I know I had a cousin. He made Kill Billy because he liked the movie Kill Bill. So he just said Kill Billy, which is a shitty name. But what can you do? But apparently that was a big thing. That was a big thing for people. So it's stupid. But anyway, on other news, right? So apparently Sony cannot get away from this fucking play together crossplay. They can't get away from it. They cannot get away from it. So another developer says this. He states, Sony's cross-play stance. Families want to play together and nobody owns 4 PlayStations. There's a couple people that I know that owns multiple PlayStations, number one. I'm not saying that I'm against it or for it, to be honest with you. I truthfully don't care, and that's not a stance of, basically saying, me being, politically correct. I don't really care. If I can have it my way, I don't want to play with Xbox. I don't want to play with Xbox people. Ooh, that shows a fanboy. But I don't want to play with Xbox. Xbox. I can't even say their name properly. Jesus. I don't want to play with Xbox, the demographic. I don't like the demographic. I don't really care too much for it. And you know what I mean. It's just funny now all these developers want to come at Sony with this. They should have kept the same energy last generation. But I guess you could argue that last generation online wasn't that popular or potent. So maybe you can look at it that way. But he says here, they say during a panel at the PAX East 2009, moderated, let me see here, let me just skim here. Somebody was making the Power Rangers Battle for the Grind. Apparently, they say Sony's stance is limiting crossplay. It hinders them. It hinders games and gamers. So we're doing this shit again. Little fucking developers with their shitty little games are complaining because they want to do like the paid model, Fortnite model. They want a one profile for every platform so they can make the most money and not put money into their actual games. But whatever. He says right now it's not fully there because one of the biggest platforms out there, Sony, still isn't opening up. They made some exceptions with a handful of games like Fortnite and Rocket League, but they've said they have to judge whether or not they will allow other games to do it or not. And they're probably going to do this for the remaining of the generation, which isn't that long anyway. They're getting a lot of pressure to open up. People want to play with their friends. No, you're telling people what they want to do is what's going on. And I'm tired of this thing that people are doing nowadays, companies, where they're telling people what they want. You got IGN saying that, oh, you got some gruff white guy, and I didn't really like that, and I don't think people like that either. Just don't put your words in other people's fucking mouths. And there was no pressure prior to this shit, you know, to Microsoft actually, you know, kind of like pumping this narrative out. You know what I mean? Like, Microsoft wasn't, I mean, no one was really saying anything about this shit. I guess people thought it wasn't really a possibility. There was some times where there was a, you know, the developers forgot to close that gate. And when the crossplay was happening by mistake, you know what I mean, Sony rushed it, was like, yo, turn that shit off, and they had to turn it off. It could definitely happen. I mean, the stance is pretty much Sony doesn't want to give any, like, they don't want to make the road easier for the competition, you know what I mean, if they don't have to. So that's why they only did the most popular games. Sony doesn't give a fuck about your Power Ranger game, buddy. I'm just letting you know that. They don't really give a fuck. They don't care. They don't care. But those two pieces of news was like the most, you know, relevant, you know what I mean? It really isn't anything else that was relevant. You know, the whole name change, that kind of threw me the fuck off. I mean, because they were supposed to do that last year sometime, and then it finally came out. You know what I mean? You know, I can't wait for the E3, obviously. Oh yeah, there was this one rumor, I will say this. So there's a rumor going around that the PS5 is supposed to be so powerful, that's supposed to really work with, because there's a patent out for the PlayStation, PlayStation VR. Basically, it is going to be wireless, essentially, so you're not going to be tethered to wires. I don't know how that fucking shit's going to work. I really don't. But supposedly it works really well for the PS4 or PS5. And the PS5 is going to be powerful enough to allow for a pretty decent experience for virtual reality. It was never really the wires that got to me, although that's a problem. What the problem is how big the device is on my face. And for people that have a lot of hair, I don't really want to mess up my fucking, I know that sounds like ridiculous, but you know what I mean, you know, I have a lot of conditioner in my hair a lot of the times to keep me from, you know, keep my hair from drying out and shit like that, because I have a lot of curly hair, and you know, I wouldn't be able to share the fucking unit with anyone else, and sweat and all of the fucking shit. I mean, the device is too large. I would like for it to be like glasses, essentially, so small it'd be just like glasses, you know, but I don't think the technology is there. Speaking of technology, I will say this, there's the Stadia. It's just streaming games online. There was a PlayStation YouTuber, you know, a YouTuber that covers PlayStation. I don't remember his name. I'm not going to shout him out. I don't give a fuck. But he mentioned that he used the PlayStation, you know, what the fuck is it? He used the PlayStation Now, and he said that it sucked. Now, he mentions that his internet was sporadic and that he needed another modem. So he was complaining and bitching about how it was like a delay and the screen was getting all pixelated and stuff like that. And Sony wasn't about their word when it came to, you know, the 5 megabits per second rule. You know what I mean? So his was jumping anywhere from, I think he said like 15 megabits per second to like 4 megabits per second. It was fluctuate, and he was getting kicked out a lot. And he kind of alludes to like putting it on PlayStation, like it's PlayStation's fault for doing that. And I'm like, bro, man, like your internet is fucked up, man. You can't blame it on that, or anyone, even if it's Stadia, you can't blame it on that. You really can't. You know, it's your internet. So either way, he gets a new modem and he downgrades his internet or his cable service to just internet. And he supposedly he's like super happy about this shit, whatever. But he says that even with 100 megabits per second, he still had like some issues. And I'm like, bro, like it's not even it's a limitation with the with fucking streaming. It's not Netflix. You know what I mean? He makes valid points about the UI not being up to date and not looking the freshest. You know what I mean? So he made some points about that, but at the same time, it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this person, I'm gonna tell you who he is in a later video. I don't feel like looking up his name, but like I feel like he kind of bitches and complains about a lot of the shit, even though he's a PlayStation like channel. And it's not that he's bitching about it because he's just, you know, he's just bitter or whatever the case is. It's like he wants to be inclusive and he doesn't want to be that channel that likes everything Sony and everything PlayStation. So I feel like he's trying to be inclusive and not make himself seem like a fanboy, because he was mentioning a couple other things, and maybe I'll make a video about that shit. But that's really all I got here. Don't forget, you know, to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what I'm doing well, what I'm not doing. And if that's all, you know what I'm saying, I'll see you next episode.